Welcome back to Live Now. Well, we've all heard about Fraser Anning's speech earlier in the week, and it's been condemned by the Labor Party, the LNP and even One Nation. But his party leader, Bob Katter, is standing by the senator's calls for a ban on Muslim immigration. Joining me live now for more on this is Muslims Down Under Managing Director Imam Hadi. Imam, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
We have seen lots of political reaction to the speech earlier in the week, but can I ask you what your reaction was when you heard what Senator Anning said?
Absolutely. I think it goes without saying, as like all Muslims across Australia, maybe even across the world, who saw his statement, you'd naturally be quite offended. It was very disappointing to see someone in his position, a senator with a say in Parliament, to use such statements in such a national place. It was very offensive and something that we were very disappointed by.
And it's since been revealed that that speech was planned and it was designed to hit a nerve. How has the Muslim community been affected by the rhetoric surrounding Muslim immigration and what Bob Katter and Senator Anning have had to say over the past couple of days?
Well, to be honest, it's not something that we're too shocked by. It's a phenomena that we've been seeing happening for a very long time now. Unfortunately, there are certain politicians who use this rhetoric or this narrative to scapegoat a minority which is already demonized, a minority which is already looked down upon, unfortunately, due to the various media cover and the various ways that it's shown to the world. And I think what's happened is it's just a political stunt to get your name out there, to increase your popularity, because what happens is when you scapegoat a community like this, then such individuals who do so, it's as though they feel as though there won't be any repercussions, because this minority is also already so disillusioned and demonized and misunderstood. So we weren't too surprised by it. It's been happening for a very long time. But what we can say is we're very disappointed by it, because this shouldn't be the case in the 21st century, especially Australia, a nation which prides itself with multiculturalism, and the multicultural story in Australia is absolutely beautiful. And for someone in his position to make such statements, which many would argue were completely absurd, was quite unfair to the Muslim community all across Australia.
Do you see Australia as being a multicultural nation? We've seen the ramping up of negative rhetoric, not just towards the Islamic faith, but the people of South Sudanese heritage in Victoria recently. Do you see Australia as being welcoming and multicultural?
I believe so. I think overall Australia's a very welcoming and very multicultural nation. Recent statistics show around about 80% of Australia actually believe in multiculturalism and feel that multiculturalism is a good thing. Unfortunately, everywhere you have like a fringe group within the political sphere, or also in the public sphere, which tend to demonize and vilify a certain group. I think it was very unfair to state that there are African gangs who are causing issues in Melbourne. That's certainly not the case, at least not according to the Police Commissioner of Victoria, who categorically said that this was unfair, and it's only around about 100 or so 100 or so individuals who are giving a bad name to around about 4 million Melbournians and Victorians. So it's quite unfair, really.
Just moving back on to members of the Islamic faith, we do often hear about terrorism offences being committed around the world by people who are members of the Islamic faith. Do you think there is a lack of understanding of the religion, and does that justify why some people have a fear of it?
I think it's a misrepresentation again. According to more recent statistics, since 1970, if you take all of the terrorist incidents into account, only 10% account for supposedly Islamist-motivated terrorist actions. So it's a big misrepresentation. In Australia, it's more likely that one would die due to domestic violence, and that's something, recent statistics that was released by the ABS, that it is likely that around about 2 women would die per week due to domestic violence, and that's a far higher number and a far higher chance than one to be affected by a terrorist, let alone someone who ascribes to a Muslim faith. But yes, due to this misrepresentation, due to certain individuals like Mr. Fraser Anning, unfortunately, or Senator Fraser Anning, what's happened is people do then tend to start to fear the Muslim community for no reason whatsoever due to this misrepresentation that we see in the media and across the world.
So what do you think we can do to help give people a better understanding of the Muslim community? I know your movement, Muslims Down Under, does a lot of work in this field.
Absolutely. This is something that we're at the forefront of, I would believe, and I would boldly claim. It's something that we pride ourselves with. Muslims Down Under is a campaign through which we are reaching out to Australians all over this beautiful country. Throughout, in every single major city, we provide a service called Coffee in Islam, and what we do is we urge the Australian community to come forward and have a conversation with us over a cup of coffee to learn about Islam. A recent study by the Deakin University showed that if people were to get to know more about Islam and more about Muslims and acquire knowledge, then there would be less fear and less misunderstanding with regard to Islam itself. So what we do through Muslims Down Under is that we allow the general public to engage with the Muslim community through these various sittings, but that's not the only thing we do. We're very openly we openly speak out on social media, and we engage with the public through there. And more recently, we opened a campaign called Question Islam, where if you're not willing to come and speak with us directly and make friends with us, then what you can do is you can speak to us or speak to an imam live through a Q&A program that is aired every week. So this is something that we've been doing for a year now, and it's been very successful. What's been happening is a lot of people are now building bridges. We've been flooded with comments throughout from all over Australia with people who are wanting to make friends with the Muslim community and appreciate the efforts that we're making in building bridges. So I think that's one of the best ways that we can respond to such rhetoric. Another thing that I would like to mention as well, I'm an imam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We're Muslims who believe in the Messiah, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of India. And we are, very much part and parcel of the Australian society. Only in the past year, within a month, our community, we raised around about $80,000 for the Australian Red Cross, a charity organisation which in actuality finds its roots in Christianity. We also planted around about 7,000 trees all across Australia. So to say that Muslims are not integrating and are not assimilating is absurd, and I would say very offensive to all those hardworking Muslims all across Australia who are trying their level best to contribute to Australian society.
Okay, Imam, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.